I installed that camera on a Tuesday morning. Just a small black dome in the corner of our bedroom ceiling, right above the dresser where Lorraine kept her mother's Bible. I thought I was protecting my home. I thought I was being smart, being careful. The installation guy said it would send alerts to my phone anytime it detected motion. What he didn't tell me was that some motion would rip my entire world in half. 3 days later, I was sitting in my truck outside the hardware store when my phone buzzed. I opened the app, and I watched my wife of 37 years kiss my twin brother in our bed. The same bed where we'd held our newborn daughter. The same bed where we'd prayed together every Sunday morning. I watched for 43 seconds before I threw the phone against the dashboard. It cracked, but not as much as I did. My name is Marcus Eugene Holloway. I'm 65 years old now, though this all happened when I was 63. Back then, I was still working part-time at the Postal Distribution Center in Cleveland, Ohio, Forest Hills area, right off Warrensville. I lived in a modest brick house on Avalon Road, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, with a front porch that needed painting and gutters I kept meaning to clean. I'd lived there since 1989, raised 2 children there, buried a dog in the backyard, built a life I thought was solid. I was wrong about a lot of things back then, but I wasn't wrong about one thing. Some betrayals don't just hurt you, they unmake you. This is that story. I met Lorraine Washington at a church picnic in August of 1985. She was wearing a yellow sundress with little white flowers on it, and she was laughing at something her cousin said while holding a paper plate piled high with potato salad. I remember thinking she had the kind of laugh that made you want to be the reason for it. I was 23 years old, working construction, and still living with my mother and twin brother Michael in a cramped apartment on East 116th. Michael and I were identical. Same dark brown eyes, same gap between our front teeth, same broad shoulders from our father who'd left when we were 6. People couldn't tell us apart unless they really knew us. Even our mama sometimes called us by the wrong name. That day at the picnic, I walked right up to Lorraine and asked if she needed someone to carry that plate for her. She looked at me like I was crazy. "I got 2 working hands," she said, "but you can walk with me if you want." We walked and talked for 2 hours. She told me she was studying to be a nurse. I told her I wanted to start my own contracting business someday. When the sun started going down and the mosquitoes came out, I asked for her phone number. She wrote it on a napkin with a purple pen. That napkin stayed in my wallet for 3 years, even after I'd memorized every digit. I called her the next day. We went to dinner at a little Italian place on Mayfield Road. She ordered spaghetti and got sauce on her chin, and when I pointed it out, she laughed that laugh again. I was gone, completely gone. Michael met her a week later. I'd brought him along to a movie, some action thing with explosions I can't even remember now. I just wanted my brother to meet the woman I was falling for. Michael shook her hand and said, "So you're the one Marcus won't shut up about." Lorraine smiled and said, "I hope that's a good thing." Michael grinned, that same grin I had, and said, "He hasn't smiled this much since we were kids. So yeah, it's a good thing." The 3 of us grabbed burgers afterward at a diner that stayed open late. We squeezed into a corner booth, and I remember Michael telling stories about us as kids. How we used to pretend to be each other to confuse our teachers. How we got into fights defending each other. How we promised we'd never let anything come between us. Lorraine laughed at every story. She fit right in. I thought, this is perfect. My brother and my girl, getting along like old friends. Over the next 2 years, Michael became part of our world. He'd come to dinners at Lorraine's apartment. He'd help me fix my car when it broke down. He'd show up at our dates sometimes, not in a weird way, just because we were all close. Lorraine didn't mind. She'd grown up as an only child and said she liked feeling like she had a bigger family. "You two are a package deal," she'd joke. "If I'm with Marcus, I'm with Michael too." I loved that about her. She didn't make me choose. She didn't make me feel guilty for wanting my twin brother in my life. When I proposed to Lorraine in 1987, Michael was the first person I told. He hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "You're doing it, man," he said. "You're really doing it." He was my best man at the wedding, stood right beside me in a rented tux that matched mine. When the preacher said, "You may kiss the bride," Michael clapped the loudest. I remember looking at him over Lorraine's shoulder as we kissed, and he was wiping his eyes. I thought they were tears of joy. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't start with the knife. It starts with trust. It starts with you opening every door in your life and saying, "Come in, you're safe here." And the person you trust most walks in, smiles, and starts planning where to put the blade. I didn't know it then, but that wedding day was the beginning of the end. Not because anything happened that day, but because I built a life where my wife and my twin brother were the two people I loved most in the world. And when you build something like that, when you put all your faith in two people, you're just one secret away from losing everything. I think about that sometimes. I think about how much easier it would have been if I'd never brought Michael to that movie theater. If I'd kept my world small, if I'd protected what was mine. But I didn't. I let him in. And 37 years later, I paid for it. We bought the house on Avalon Road in 1989 with money we'd saved for 3 years. Lorraine was working night shifts at St. Vincent Charity Hospital, and I was pulling overtime doing drywall installations for a company that paid under the table. We'd drive past that house every Sunday after church just to look at it. It had a "for sale" sign in the yard that tilted to one side, and the grass was overgrown, but Lorraine would squeeze my hand and say, "That's ours, Marcus. I can feel it." The day we closed on it, she cried in the driveway. We didn't have furniture yet, so we sat on the living room floor and ate Chinese takeout straight from the containers. Michael stopped by with a bottle of cheap champagne and 3 plastic cups. "To the Holloways," he said, raising his cup. "May this house see nothing but blessings." We drank and laughed and made plans. Michael promised he'd help me paint the bedrooms. Lorraine said she'd plant flowers in the spring. Our daughter, Kendra, was born in 1991. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, with a head full of black curls and lungs that could wake the whole neighborhood. I'd never felt fear like I did holding her for the first time. This tiny thing that depended on me for everything. Lorraine was exhausted, but she looked at me with so much love it hurt. "We made her," she whispered. "Can you believe it?" I couldn't. For weeks, I barely slept. I'd stand over Kendra's crib at 2 in the morning, just watching her breathe. Terrified she'd stop. Michael came to visit the day we brought her home. He brought a stuffed elephant and a card that said, "To my niece, you're stuck with me." He held Kendra like he'd held 100 babies before, gentle and sure. "And she didn't cry. She likes you," Lorraine said. Michael smiled. "She's got good taste." He started coming by more after that. Sunday dinners became a tradition. Michael would bring wine or dessert, and we'd sit around our little kitchen table and talk about everything. Work, bills, neighborhood gossip, dreams we hadn't let go of yet. Our son Darius came 3 years later. He was bigger than Kendra, 9 pounds, 2 ounces, and he came out angry, red-faced, and screaming like the world had already done him wrong. I loved him instantly. He had my nose and Lorraine's eyes, and from day one, he was a fighter. Kendra adored him. She'd sit next to his bassinet and sing songs she made up. Michael was there for Darius's baptism, standing beside us in his Sunday best, his hand on my shoulder during the prayers. I remember the preacher saying something about community, about how it takes a village to raise a child, and I looked at Michael and felt grateful. I had my brother. I had my wife. I had 2 healthy kids and a house and a job. What more could a man want? I didn't know then that wanting more wasn't the problem. The problem was not seeing what I already had slipping away. Lorraine and I fell into a rhythm. She worked her shifts at the hospital, 3 12-hour nights a week, and I worked days. We were like ships passing. I'd come home, and she'd be getting ready to leave. We'd kiss in the hallway, talk about the kids, and then she'd be gone. Michael filled the gaps. He'd stop by on the nights Lorraine worked, help me with the kids, fix things around the house I didn't have time for. He replaced a broken window in the kitchen. He installed a new ceiling fan in our bedroom. He mowed the lawn when I threw my back out. "You don't have to do all this," I told him once. He shrugged. "That's what family does." And I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He'd never given me a reason not to. He was my twin, my other half, the person who knew me better than anyone, or so I thought. But looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. The way Michael's visits became longer. The way Lorraine started doing her hair and makeup even when she was just staying home. The way they'd laugh at inside jokes I wasn't part of. I'd walk into the kitchen and catch them mid-conversation, and they'd both look at me like they'd been caught. But caught doing what? Talking? I'd shake it off. Tell myself I was being paranoid. Lorraine loved me. Michael was my brother. They were just close because I'd made them close. I'd built this family. I'd invited him into every corner of our lives. And when you trust people that much, you don't go looking for reasons not to. You don't check phones. You don't ask questions. You just believe. And belief, I learned, can be the most dangerous thing you ever give someone. By the time Kendra turned 16 and Darius turned 13, I'd stopped noticing the little things. I was too busy trying to keep the bills paid and the house from falling apart. My body was starting to hurt in ways it hadn't before. My knees ached when I climbed stairs. My back seized up when I bent over too long. My hands cramped when I gripped a hammer. I was 56 years old and feeling every year of it. Lorraine was still working nights, still coming home exhausted, still sleeping through most of the day. We didn't fight, but we didn't talk much either. Our conversations had become practical. Groceries, utility bills, who was picking up Darius from basketball practice. The romance we'd had in our 20s felt like something from another lifetime. I told myself that was normal, that all marriages went through seasons, that we'd find our way back to each other once the kids were grown and we had more time. Michael, though. Michael was always around. He never got married, never had kids of his own. I'm married to my freedom, he'd joke. He worked seasonal jobs, construction in the summer, snowplowing in the winter, and lived in a studio apartment on the east side that he barely decorated. He said he preferred it simple. I used to feel sorry for him. I'd look at my life, the house, the wife, the kids, and think, Michael's missing out. I'd invite him over for Sunday dinners, for birthday parties, for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Lorraine always set an extra plate for him without me asking. Michael's family, she'd say. He should be here. And he was, always. At every holiday, every milestone, every moment that mattered. He taught Kendra how to change a tire when she got her driver's license. He took Darius to his first basketball game at the Cavaliers arena. He was there when I couldn't be, which was more and more often as I got older and more worn down. One night, I think it was a Friday in November, cold enough that you could see your breath, I came home from work and found Lorraine and Michael in the kitchen. They were cooking dinner together, some kind of pasta dish with garlic bread. The radio was on, playing old Motown songs, and they were laughing. Lorraine was wearing my old Cleveland Brown sweatshirt, the one I'd had since the 80s, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger than she had in years. Michael was chopping onions, tears streaming down his face, and making jokes about how he was crying because he was so happy to be part of our family. I stood in the doorway for a minute, just watching them, and I felt something I didn't want to name. Not jealousy exactly, more like exclusion. Like I was watching a scene I wasn't supposed to be in. "Hey, baby," Lorraine said when she saw me. "We're making spaghetti. You hungry?" I nodded, forced a smile, and joined them. But the feeling didn't leave. It sat in my chest like a stone. The kids started going off to college. Kendra first, to Ohio State, studying pre-law. She wanted to be a lawyer, make a difference, help people who couldn't help themselves. I was so proud I could barely stand it. We drove her down to Columbus on a hot August morning, the car packed so full we could barely see out the back window. Michael came with us. He insisted on helping move her into the dorm, carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs in the heat. Kendra hugged him tight before we left. "Thanks, Uncle Michael," she said, "for everything." I saw the way he looked at her, like she was his own daughter, and part of me was grateful. Part of me thought, see, this is what family looks like. But another part of me, a part I pushed down deep, wondered why Michael had never built his own family, why he was so content being part of mine. Darius left 2 years later, got a basketball scholarship to a small school in Pennsylvania. The day we dropped him off, I cried in the car on the way home. Lorraine patted my knee and said, "They're supposed to leave, Marcus. That's how you know you did it right." But the house felt empty without them, too big. Too quiet. Just me and Lorraine and the echoes of who we used to be. I thought maybe this would be our chance to reconnect, to remember why we fell in love in the first place. But Lorraine started picking up more shifts, said she wanted to save for retirement, and Michael kept coming around, filling the silence I couldn't. They'd watch TV together on the nights I fell asleep in my recliner. They'd talk about things I was too tired to engage with. And I let it happen because I trusted them, because I thought I knew them, because I didn't want to believe what a small, quiet voice in the back of my mind was starting to whisper. The break-ins started happening in our neighborhood around early 2022. Nothing major at first. Someone's garage got hit, a few tools stolen. Then the Hendersons, 3 doors down, had their back window smashed, lost a TV and some jewelry. The neighborhood watch group started sending emails. People were installing security systems, buying doorbell cameras, talking about it at the grocery store and after church. Lorraine mentioned it one Sunday morning while we were getting ready. "Maybe we should get one of those cameras," she said, brushing her hair in the bathroom mirror, "just to be safe." I was sitting on the edge of the bed, pulling on my socks, and I remember thinking it was a good idea. We weren't getting any younger. We couldn't hear as well as we used to. What if someone broke in and we didn't even wake up? I started researching cameras online, read reviews, watch YouTube videos about installation, compared prices. I'm not good with technology. Kendra used to tease me about still using a flip phone until 2015, but I wanted to do this myself. Didn't want to pay someone a fortune for something I could figure out. I settled on a system that came with 4 cameras, one for the front door, one for the back door, one for the garage, and one that could go anywhere inside. The company website said it was easy to install, that it connected to your phone through an app, that you could watch live footage from anywhere in the world. I ordered it on a Tuesday. It arrived that Friday. The box sat in our hallway for a week before I opened it. I kept meaning to install it, but work was busy and I was tired, and it felt like one more thing on a list of things I'd never get to. Michael came over on a Sunday afternoon in late March. It was one of those early spring days where the sun's out but the air still has teeth. He knocked on the door holding a bag of burgers from our favorite spot on Kinsman. "Figured you two could use lunch," he said. Lorraine lit up when she saw him. "Michael, you're a lifesaver. I was just about to make sandwiches." We ate at the kitchen table, and I mentioned the cameras. "Still haven't installed them," I admitted. "Just haven't had the energy." Michael wiped his mouth with a napkin and said, "Want some help? I've got nothing going on today." I should have said no. Should have told him I'd get to it eventually. But I was tired and my back was hurting, and honestly I wanted the company. So I said yes. We spent the next 3 hours installing cameras. Michael climbed the ladder, drilled the holes, ran the wires. I handed him tools and held things steady. Lorraine brought us lemonade and watched from the doorway, smiling like we were 2 kids building a treehouse. When we got to the last camera, Michael asked where I wanted it. I put the others outside, but the instructions said one should go inside, somewhere central. "Maybe the living room?" I suggested. Michael shook his head. "Living room's too obvious. Someone breaks in, they'll see it and smash it." He paused, then said, "What about the bedroom? If someone gets that far, you'll want footage." It made sense. I nodded. He installed it in the corner, right above Lorraine's dresser, angled to cover the door and the window. When he was done, he climbed down and dusted off his hands. "There! Now you're Fort Knox." I downloaded the app on my phone, and Michael helped me connect all 4 cameras. We tested them, watched the live feed, made sure the motion detection worked. Lorraine stood in front of each camera, waving, and we watched her on my phone screen. "This is amazing," she said. "I'll feel so much safer now." I thanked Michael, told him I owed him one. He grinned. "You don't owe me anything, brother. That's what I'm here for." That night after Michael left, I lay in bed and scrolled through the app. I could see the front porch, the backyard, the inside of the garage, and I could see our bedroom from that corner angle, the bed, the dresser, the window. It felt strange, like I was watching my own life from outside. Lorraine was already asleep beside me, her breathing slow and steady. I turned off my phone and stared at the ceiling. I thought about how lucky I was to have a brother like Michael, how lucky I was to have a wife who still cared about keeping us safe, how lucky I was to have a home worth protecting. I didn't know that in 3 days, that camera would show me something I could never unsee. I didn't know that the thing I installed to protect my home would be the thing that destroyed it. If I'd known, would I have smashed that camera before Michael even opened the box? Would I have told him to leave, to stop coming around so much, to build his own damn life? I don't know. Maybe, but probably not. Because at that moment, I still believed. I still trusted. I still thought the people I loved couldn't hurt me. And that belief, that stupid, blind to beautiful belief, was about to kill me in ways I didn't know a person could die. It was a Thursday morning when the notification came. I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot of Benson's Hardware on Warrensville, engine running, heater on because April mornings in Cleveland still bite. I just finished picking up some plumbing supplies for a job I was doing for a neighbor, replacing a leaky faucet. Easy money. My phone was in the cup holder, and it buzzed. The screen lit up with a notification from the camera app. Motion detected in master bedroom. I almost ignored it. Figured it was Lorraine moving around, getting ready for her shift. She'd been working days that week, which was rare but happened sometimes when they were short-staffed. But something made me pick up the phone. Maybe curiosity, maybe God trying to warn me, maybe just bad timing. I opened the app and tapped on the bedroom camera. The screen loaded, showing the live feed from that corner angle Michael had installed. What I saw didn't make sense at first. My brain couldn't process it. There was Lorraine, but she wasn't alone. There was a man with her. They were on the bed. Our bed. The bed I'd slept in for 33 years. The bed where we'd made love, where we'd held our babies, where we'd whispered prayers and secrets. I watched as the man leaned in and kissed her. Not a quick kiss. Not an accidental kiss. A kiss that meant something. A kiss that had history. And then I saw his face. The same face I'd seen in the mirror every morning for 63 years. The same gap between the front teeth. The same dark brown eyes. The same broad shoulders. Michael, my twin brother. My best friend. The man I trusted with everything. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like someone had reached inside and squeezed my heart with both hands. The phone shook in my grip. On the screen, I watched them pull apart. Watched Lorraine laugh at something he said. Watched Michael brush her hair behind her ear with a tenderness I recognized because I used to do the same thing. I don't remember making the sound that came out of me. It was something between a scream and a sob, something animal. The phone fell from my hand and hit the dashboard. The screen cracked, spiderwebbing across the image of my wife and my brother in my bed. I punched the steering wheel. Once, twice, 3 times. My hand throbbed, but I didn't care. I wanted to feel something other than this. This thing that was tearing through me like a wildfire. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. The screen still worked, even cracked. I went back to the app. I had to see it again. Had to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. But there they were, still on the bed, still together. Michael was saying something and Lorraine was nodding. They looked comfortable, familiar. Like they'd done this 1,000 times before. How long? How long had this been happening? Months? Years? Since the beginning? Every Sunday dinner? Every holiday? Every time I'd invited him into our home? Had they been laughing at me the whole time? I sat in that truck for 43 seconds, watching. That's all I could take. 43 seconds of my entire life crumbling like a house made of sand. Then I threw the phone against the dashboard. It bounced off and landed on the passenger seat. Screen shattered but still recording, still showing me the truth I'd been too blind to see. I started the truck. I don't remember deciding to drive home. I don't remember the route I took or the lights I ran or the horn someone honked at me. All I remember is the sound of my breathing, loud and ragged in the enclosed space. And the image burned into my brain. Their bodies pressed together. Her hand on his chest. His lips on hers. In our bed. In our home. In our life. I'd built this. I'd invited him in. I'd trusted him with everything. And he'd taken it. Taken her. Taken us. Taken 37 years and turned them into a lie. When I pulled into the driveway, Michael's truck was there. Parked in the same spot he always parked, like he owned the place. Maybe he did. Maybe he'd owned it longer than I had. I sat there with the engine running, staring at his truck. The rational part of my brain said to wait, to think, to not do anything I'd regret. But the rational part of my brain had just watched my wife betray me with my own blood. Rational didn't live here anymore. I turned off the engine, got out. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. I walked up to the front door, my hand reaching for the knob, and I realized I was about to walk into my own home as a stranger. Because the man who lived here, the man who trusted his wife and his brother, who believed in family and loyalty and love, that man was gone, dead, killed by a camera he'd installed himself. And whoever was left, whoever was about to open that door, I didn't know him yet. But I knew one thing. Nothing would ever be the same again. I opened the front door as quietly as I could. My hands were trembling so bad I almost couldn't turn the knob. The house was silent, except for the sound of voices coming from upstairs. From our bedroom, I could hear Lorraine laughing. That same laugh I'd fallen in love with 40 years ago at a church picnic. The laugh I'd worked my whole life to be the reason for. And now I was hearing it while standing in my own hallway like an intruder, like someone who didn't belong in the house he'd paid for with his own sweat and blood. I took off my work boots. Didn't want them to hear me coming. My socks made no sound on the hardwood floor as I moved toward the stairs. Each step felt like walking through water. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. I could hear Michael's voice now too, deep and familiar, saying something I couldn't make out. Then more laughter. Both of them. Easy and comfortable. Like this was normal. Like this was their life. I climbed the stairs one at a time. 13 steps I'd climbed thousands of times before. But this time felt different. This time felt like climbing toward an execution. My execution. At the top of the stairs, I could see our bedroom door was half open. Light spilled out into the hallway. I could see shadows moving inside. My breath caught in my throat. Part of me wanted to turn around, to walk back down those stairs, get in my truck, and drive away. Pretend I never saw anything. Pretend my phone never buzzed. Pretend I still had a wife and a brother and a life that made sense. But my feet kept moving. One step, then another, until I was standing in the doorway. And there they were. Michael was sitting on the edge of the bed, pulling his shirt back on. Lorraine was at her dresser, fixing her hair in the mirror. She was wearing a blue robe I'd bought her 3 Christmases ago. They both froze when they saw me. The room went cold. "Marcus," Lorraine said. Her voice cracked. Her face went pale, like all the blood had drained straight out of her body. Michael stood up fast, knocking over the glass of water on the nightstand. It shattered on the floor. Neither of them moved to clean it up. We all just stood there, frozen in this terrible moment that felt like it would never end. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. My throat had closed up. My mind was screaming 1,000 things at once, but my mouth wouldn't cooperate. Finally, I managed one word. "How long?" My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like gravel, like something broken. Lorraine's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Marcus, please." "How long?" I shouted. I never shouted. Not at her, not at anyone. But something inside me had snapped, and the sound that came out was raw and animal and hurt. Michael stepped forward, hands up like he was approaching a wild dog. "Brother, let me explain. Don't call me that." I pointed at him, my finger shaking. "Don't you ever call me that again. How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Lorraine sat down on the bed, her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. Michael ran his hand over his face, that same gesture I'd seen him do 1,000,000 times when he was stressed. We even had the same nervous habits, same DNA, same blood, same face, and he'd used that face to destroy me. 8 years, he finally said. The words hit me like a truck. 8 years. 8 years of lies. 8 years of Sunday dinners and holidays and helping around the house and being part of our family while he was sleeping with my wife, while they were making a fool of me in my own home. My legs gave out. I grabbed the doorframe to keep from falling. 8 years, I repeated. "You've been doing this for 8 years? Lorraine looked up, mascara running down her face. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. I never meant." "You never meant what?" I cut her off. "You never meant for me to find out? You never meant to hurt me?" "Which part didn't you mean, Lorraine? The part where you broke our vows? The part where you brought him into our bed? The part where you looked me in the eye every single day and lied? She sobbed harder, but I couldn't feel sympathy. I couldn't feel anything except this burning, acidic rage that was eating me from the inside out. I looked at Michael, my twin, my mirror, my brother, the person I'd shared a womb with. Why? That was all I could ask. Why would he do this? Why would he take the one thing that was mine? He couldn't meet my eyes. It just happened, he said weakly. We didn't plan it. One night you were working late, and Lorraine called me because the furnace broke, and I don't want the story, I interrupted. I want to know why. Why her? Why my wife? Why my life? Michael's jaw clenched. For a second, I saw something flash in his eyes, something dark, something that had been hiding there for years. You want to know why? He said, his voice getting harder. You really want to know? Yeah, Michael. I really want to know. He laughed. It was a bitter, ugly sound. Because you always had everything, Marcus. Always. You got the girl. You got the house. You got the kids and the family and the perfect life. And what did I get? I got a watch. I got to be Uncle Michael. I got to be the spare, the backup, the one who helped you build your dream while I lived in a studio apartment with nothing. The words hung in the air like poison gas. I stared at him, this person I thought I knew, and realized I'd never known him at all. So you took it, I said slowly. You took my wife because you were jealous? I didn't take her, he shot back. She wanted me too. Tell him, Lorraine. Tell him how it really started. Lorraine was shaking her head, tears streaming. Don't, she whispered. Please don't. But Michael was past stopping. Whatever dam had been holding back his truth had just broken. She kissed me first, he said, looking right at me. 8 years ago, right here in this room. You were on a work trip to Columbus. She called me crying because she was lonely, because you were always working, always tired, always too busy to see her. And I came over, and we talked, and she told me she felt invisible, and when I held her, she kissed me. So don't act like I'm the only villain here. I looked at Lorraine, needed to hear her deny it, needed her to say Michael was lying. But she didn't. She just sat there, crying, and that was all the confirmation I needed. My wife, my brother, 8 years, in my house, in my bed, while I worked myself to the bone to provide for them, while I trusted them completely, while I loved them with everything I had. Get out, I said quietly. Michael blinked. What? I said, get out, both of you. Get out of my house. Lorraine stood up. Marcus, this is my house too. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, I roared. You've been lying to me for 8 years. 8 years, Lorraine. While I was working to pay for this house, while I was raising our kids, while I was building a life I thought we shared, you were with him. My voice broke on the last word. I was crying now, tears running down my face, and I hated it. Hated that they could see me break. Hated that after everything they'd done, I was the one falling apart. Michael grabbed his jacket from the chair. I'll go, he said. But Marcus, you have to understand. I don't have to understand anything, I said. I don't have to understand how my own brother could betray me. I don't have to understand how the two people I loved most in this world could do this to me. All I have to understand is that you're both dead to me now. So get out. Before I do something we'll all regret. Michael walked past me, and for a split second, I wanted to hit him, wanted to grab him and smash his face into the wall until he looked as broken as I felt. But I didn't, because if I started, I didn't think I'd be able to stop. He paused at the top of the stairs. I'm sorry, he said without turning around. Then he was gone. I heard the front door open and close, heard his truck start in the driveway, heard him drive away, and then it was just me and Lorraine, standing in our bedroom, with 8 years of lies between us and a future I couldn't even imagine anymore. She stood up, reaching for me. Marcus, please, let me explain. Let me make this right. I stepped back. Don't touch me, I said. Don't ever touch me again. And I walked out of that room, out of that life, even though I had nowhere to go, even though I was still in my own house. Because the truth is, the moment I saw that camera footage, I'd already left. My body just hadn't caught up yet. I slept in my truck that night, couldn't stay in the house, couldn't breathe in there. Every room smelled like betrayal now. I drove to the parking lot of our old church on Cedar Avenue, the same church where Lorraine and I got married, where we baptized our kids, where I used to pray every Sunday and believe God was listening. I parked under a streetlight and reclined the seat as far as it would go. My back screamed in protest, but I didn't care. Physical pain was easier than what was happening in my chest. I kept thinking about 8 years. 8 years ago, Kendra was in high school. Darius was barely a teenager. I was still young enough to think I had time to fix things, to reconnect with Lorraine, to be the husband she needed. But apparently she'd already decided I wasn't enough. She'd already chosen my brother, and they'd kept choosing each other every day for 8 years, while I made them Sunday dinner, while I invited Michael to birthday parties, while I trusted them completely. My phone rang around midnight. Lorraine. I let it ring. She called again and again, 15 times before she finally stopped. Then the text started coming through. Please come home. We need to talk. I love you. It's not what you think. That last one made me laugh. A bitter, broken sound in the dark cab of my truck. Not what I think? I'd seen them kiss, seen them comfortable in our bed, seen 8 years of lies written all over their guilty faces. What else was there to think? Around 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Michael. I know you don't want to hear from me, but you need to know the truth. It's complicated. She loves you, Marcus. She always has. What we have, it's different. Please call me. I deleted it, blocked his number, but his words stayed in my mind, poisoning my thoughts. What we have is different. Like their betrayal was some kind of special love story. Like they were Romeo and Juliet instead of two people who destroyed a family. I must have dozed off sometime before dawn because I woke up to someone tapping on my window. For a second, I thought it was police, come to tell me I couldn't sleep here. But it was Pastor Raymond, the minister who'd married Lorraine and me 40 years ago. He was older now, 70s, with white hair and kind eyes behind thick glasses. Marcus, he said through the glass. That you? I rolled down the window. Morning, Pastor. What are you doing sleeping in your truck in the church parking lot? I didn't have the energy to lie. Had to leave my house last night, needed somewhere to think. Pastor Raymond studied my face. You look like you've been through a war, son. Come inside. Let me make you some coffee. I followed him into the church building, the same hallways I'd walked down 1,000 times, the same smell of old wood and furniture, polish and faith. We went to his office, a small room cluttered with books and papers and a coffee maker that looked like it was from 1985. He poured me a cup in a chipped mug that said, God is good on the side. The irony wasn't lost on me. You want to talk about it? Pastor Raymond asked, settling into his chair. I stared into the black coffee. My wife's been having an affair with my twin brother for 8 years. Found out yesterday. That's about all there is to talk about. The pastor's face fell. Oh, Marcus, I'm so sorry. Me too, I said. I'm sorry I was stupid enough to trust them. Sorry I didn't see it. Sorry I installed that damn camera. Camera? Installed security cameras in my house last week. Caught them on video yesterday morning. I took a sip of coffee. It was terrible. Burnt and bitter. Perfect. Guess God wanted me to know the truth. Pastor Raymond leaned forward. God doesn't cause our pain, Marcus. People do. Free will is a gift, but it means people can choose to hurt us. Then what good is God? The words came out harder than I meant them. What good is praying and believing and trying to do right if the people you love can just betray you anyway? The pastor didn't have an easy answer. I respected that. Too many religious people try to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, quote some scripture, and pretend that fixes everything. Instead, he just sat there with me in the silence, letting me hurt. Finally, he said, I don't know why betrayal exists, Marcus. I don't know why the people we trust most can become the ones who wound us deepest. But I do know this. You're not the first man to feel what you're feeling, and you won't be the last. The question now is what you do with it. I don't know what to do with it, I admitted. I'm 63 years old. I gave that woman 37 years of my life. I gave my brother everything, and they threw it away like it meant nothing. Did you ask them why? Does it matter? Might not. But understanding doesn't mean forgiving. Sometimes we need to understand just so we can let go. I finished the coffee and stood up. I appreciate you talking to me, Pastor, but I don't think I'm ready to understand. I'm still trying to figure out how to breathe. He walked me to the door. My door's always open, Marcus. Day or night. You need a place to stay. We've got rooms upstairs. You need someone to listen. I'm here. Don't go through this alone. I nodded, thanked him, and walked back to my truck. The sun was coming up, painting the sky pink and orange. A new day. Except nothing felt new. Everything felt old and used up and broken beyond repair. I checked my phone. 23 missed calls from Lorraine. 12 texts. 3 voicemails I couldn't bring myself to listen to. And 1 text from Kendra. Dad, Mom called me crying. What's going on? Call me, please. My daughter. I'd have to tell my kids. Have to explain that their uncle and their mother had been lying to all of us for years. Have to watch their faces as they realized their family was built on sand. I drove to a diner on Miles Avenue, the kind of place that's been there since the 70s, with red vinyl booths and a menu that hasn't changed in decades. I ordered eggs and toast and sat in a corner booth watching people come and go. Normal people. People whose lives weren't exploding. A couple in their 20s sharing a plate of pancakes. An old man reading the newspaper. A woman with tired eyes drinking coffee and staring at nothing. I wondered if any of them had been betrayed. If any of them knew what it felt like to have your whole life revealed as a lie. The waitress, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and a name tag that said Cheryl, refilled my coffee and asked if I was okay. I must have looked as bad as I felt. Just a rough week, I said. She patted my shoulder. Hang in there, honey. Whatever it is, it won't feel this bad forever. I wanted to believe her, but sitting there in that diner with my eggs getting cold and my whole life in ruins, I couldn't imagine ever feeling okay again. I called Kendra that afternoon from a motel room I'd rented on Euclid Avenue. $49 a night, cigarette burns on the bedspread, a TV that only got 3 channels, but it was mine, and that's all that mattered. She answered on the first ring. Dad? Oh my God, Dad, what's happening? Mom's been calling me hysterical, and Uncle Michael texted me saying there was a family emergency. Kendra, I interrupted, I need you to sit down. I'm already sitting. Dad, you're scaring me. I closed my eyes, tried to find the words. How do you tell your daughter that her mother cheated? That her uncle, the man who taught her to change a tire and took her to Cavs games, had been betraying her father for 8 years? Your mother and I are separating, I said. What? Why? What happened? She's been having an affair with Uncle Michael. The silence on the other end lasted forever. Then, what did you just say? Your mother and Michael have been involved for 8 years. I found out yesterday. I'm sorry you have to know this, baby, but no. Her voice was sharp. No, that's not possible. Mom wouldn't do that. Uncle Michael wouldn't. I saw them, Kendra. I saw them together, in our bed, on camera. Another silence. Then I heard her crying, soft at first, then harder. My daughter, my strong girl who wanted to be a lawyer and change the world, crying because her family had just shattered. Daddy, she said, her voice small, how could they do that to you? I don't know, baby. I don't know. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm in a motel. I'm managing. A motel? Dad, no. Come stay with me. I'll drive up tonight. No, I said firmly. You stay at school. You've got finals coming up. This isn't your burden to carry. You're my father. Of course it's my burden. She was crying harder now. I can't believe Mom would do this. I can't believe Uncle Michael, God, he's not even my uncle anymore, is he? He's just some guy who ruined our family. He's still your uncle, I said, though the words tasted like ash. What he did to me doesn't change your blood. Yes, it does, she said fiercely. It changes everything. I don't want to see him. I don't want to talk to him, and I don't know if I can forgive Mom. Don't make any decisions right now, I told her. You're angry. We're all angry. Just take some time. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Are you going to divorce her? The question hung in the air. Was I? Could I? 37 years of marriage. That wasn't something you just walked away from. Except she'd already walked away, hadn't she? 8 years ago. I don't know, I repeated. I need to think. I called Darius next. He was harder to reach. Basketball practice, classes, always busy. When he finally answered, he sounded out of breath. Dad, what's up? I only got a minute before. Your mother's been cheating on me with Uncle Michael for 8 years, I said. No preamble, no gentle lead-in. I was too tired to soften it. The line went quiet. Then, you're joking. I wish I was. Uncle Michael, our Uncle Michael? Yes. And Mom knew? Mom was in on it? Yes, I heard something crash in the background. Maybe he'd thrown his phone. Maybe he'd punched a wall. When he came back on the line, his voice was different, colder. Where's Uncle Michael now? I don't know. Probably at his apartment. Give me his address. Darius, give me his address, Dad. No. My voice was firm. I know what you're thinking. I thought it too. But violence won't fix this. He deserves a lot of things. But you going to jail isn't one of them. Leave it alone. How can you be so calm about this? Darius demanded. How can you just... I'm not calm, I shouted. I'm not calm at all. I'm furious. I'm destroyed. But I'm not going to let what they did turn me into someone I'm not. And I'm not going to let you throw your future away because of their mistakes. Silence. Then quieter. I'm sorry, Dad. I don't know what to do. Me neither, son. Me neither. We talked for another 20 minutes. He asked questions I couldn't answer. Why would they do it? How long had I suspected? Was I okay? That last one made me laugh. Was I okay? No, I wasn't okay. I might never be okay again. But I told him I was managing, told him to focus on school, told him I loved him. After I hung up, I lay on the motel bed and stared at the water-stained ceiling. My kids knew now. The secret was out, and there was no putting it back. My phone rang again that evening. Lorraine, I've been avoiding her calls all day, but I knew I couldn't forever. We had a house together, bank accounts, a life. Eventually, we'd have to talk about the logistics of untangling 37 years. I answered, What do you want? Marcus. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying for hours. Please come home. Please. We need to talk. We don't have anything to talk about. Yes, we do. You owe me that much. I owe you? I sat up, anger flooding through me. I owe you, Lorraine? I gave you everything. Everything. And you threw it away for my brother. So don't you dare tell me what I owe you. I know I hurt you. Hurt me? You didn't hurt me. You destroyed me. You took a knife and you gutted me. And you did it with my own brother, in my own bed, in my own house. It wasn't supposed to happen, she sobbed. It just happened, and then it kept happening, and I didn't know how to stop. You stopped by choosing to stop, I yelled. You stopped by remembering your vows. You stopped by thinking about your husband, your kids, your family. I never stopped loving you, she said through tears. You have to believe that. What I have with Michael, it's different. It doesn't replace what we have. Had, I corrected. What we had, past tense, because whatever we had died the moment you kissed him. Marcus, please. I talked to the kids, I said. They know. Kendra's devastated. Darius wanted Michael's address so he could go beat the hell out of him. Congratulations. You didn't just betray me. You broke our children's hearts too. I heard her breath catch. Oh God, the kids. I need to call them. They don't want to talk to you right now. Give them time. How much time? I don't know, Lorraine. Maybe forever. Maybe they'll forgive you eventually. But right now, they're just trying to understand how their mother could do something so cruel. The line went quiet, except for her crying. Finally, she said, What happens now? I don't know, I admitted. I need some time to think, to figure out what I want. Do you want a divorce? There was that question again. Did I? A week ago, the answer would have been unthinkable. Now, I don't know, I said honestly. Part of me wants to burn everything down. Part of me still remembers the girl in the yellow sundress at the church picnic. Part of me can't believe this is real. It doesn't have to be over, she said quickly. We can get counseling. We can work through this. I'll do anything, Marcus. Anything to fix this. You can't fix this, I said quietly. Some things, once they're broken, they can't be put back together. Don't say that. Please don't say that. I'm staying at a motel for now. I'll come by the house next week to get some of my things. While I'm gone, you need to think about what you really want. Because if you tell me you want to work on our marriage while you're still seeing Michael, I'm gone for good. Understand? I'm not seeing him anymore. Yes, she said quickly. I ended it. As soon as you found out, I told him it was over. You ended an 8-year affair because you got caught, I said. Not because it was wrong. Not because you chose me. Because I found out. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, Lorraine. I hung up before she could say anything else. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. Every conversation felt like reopening a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. I wanted to hate her. Wanted to delete her from my heart like I deleted Michael's number. But 37 years doesn't disappear overnight. Love doesn't turn off like a light switch, even when it's been poisoned, even when it's been betrayed. It just sits there in your chest, rotting, making you sick but refusing to die. That night, I dreamed I was back in our bedroom. But instead of seeing Lorraine and Michael, I saw myself, standing in the corner where I'd installed the camera, watching my own life like it was a movie, watching myself trust them, watching myself smile at Sunday dinners while they exchanged glances, watching myself build a prison out of love and call it a home. I woke up at 3 a.m, sweating, my chest tight, and I realized something that made everything worse. I'd done this to myself. I'd invited Michael into every corner of our lives. I'd ignored the signs because I didn't want to see them. I'd chosen blindness because it was easier than facing the truth. And that, more than anything, was what I couldn't forgive. 2 weeks later, I went back to the house. It was a Saturday morning, early, the kind of spring day where everything's blooming and the world looks beautiful, and you hate it because your insides are dead. I'd called Lorraine to tell her I was coming. She said she'd be out, give me space to pack what I needed. But when I pulled into the driveway, her car was there, and so was someone else's, a Honda Accord I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. I walked into the house and heard voices in the kitchen, Lorraine's voice, and a woman's voice I didn't know. I found them sitting at the kitchen table, coffee cups between them. Lorraine looked up when I walked in, her eyes red and puffy. The other woman was younger, maybe late 50s, with short silver hair and a kind face. "Marcus," Lorraine said, standing up. "I'm sorry, I thought I'd be gone by now. This is Dr. Patricia Coleman. She's a therapist. I've been talking to her." "About what?" I asked, though I knew the answer. "About us. About what happened. About," she took a breath, "about why I did it." I looked at this Dr. Coleman. "Does she know the whole story?" "I know enough," Dr. Coleman said gently, "and I know you're hurting, Mr. Holloway. Would you like to sit down? Maybe we can talk." "I didn't come here to talk," I said. "I came here to get my things." "Please," Lorraine said, "just 10 minutes. There are things I need to tell you, things I should have told you years ago." Something in her voice made me pause. Fear, maybe, or shame, or both. I looked at Dr. Coleman, then back at Lorraine. 10 minutes, I said. "Then I'm leaving." We sat. Dr. Coleman poured me a cup of coffee I didn't want, and Lorraine started talking, started telling me things I wasn't prepared to hear. "I was 23 when we met," she began. "Young and stupid and full of dreams, and you were everything I thought I wanted. Strong, ambitious, kind. You made me feel safe." She paused, twisting her hands together. But somewhere along the way, safe became boring, predictable. We got married, had kids, bought the house, and every day was the same. You'd work, I'd work. We'd pass each other in the hallways like roommates, and I felt invisible. "So you slept with my brother," I said flatly. "No," she said. "Not at first. At first, I tried to talk to you. Do you remember? About 5 years into our marriage, I told you I felt like we were losing each other, that we needed to reconnect." I did remember, vaguely. I'd brushed it off, told her we were fine, told her all marriages went through rough patches. "You didn't hear me," Lorraine continued, "or maybe you didn't want to. So I stopped trying. I focused on the kids, on work, on surviving. And then one night, 8 years ago," I interrupted. "I know. Michael told me. You kissed him." "I did," she admitted. "But it wasn't just that. It was, God, this sounds terrible, but it was like I woke up. Michael saw me, really saw me. He asked how I was feeling, what I was thinking, what I wanted, things you hadn't asked in years." The words hit like punches, each one landing somewhere soft. "So this is my fault?" I asked. "No," Dr. Coleman interjected. "That's not what she's saying. What Lorraine did was wrong. The affair was her choice, but she's trying to explain the context." "I don't need context," I said. "I need answers, real answers, not therapy talk. Did you ever love me, Lorraine? Any of it?" "Yes," she said immediately, tears streaming down her face. "All of it. Every moment. I loved you when we met. I loved you on our wedding day. I loved you when we had Kendra and Darius. I still love you now." "Then how could you do it?" My voice broke. "How could you look at me every single day for 8 years and lie?" "Because I was a coward," she said simply. "Because leaving you felt impossible. Because I didn't want to hurt you, and I thought if you didn't know, it wouldn't count. But it did count, and I hurt you anyway. Worse than if I'd just been honest from the start. Dr. Coleman leaned forward. Mr. Holloway, betrayal is complex. It's rarely about not loving someone. Often it's about people making broken choices when they don't know how to communicate their needs. Don't defend her, I said sharply. I'm not defending her. I'm explaining. There's a difference. I don't want explanations. I want to know if she ever planned to tell me, or if she was just going to keep lying until one of us died. Lorraine looked down at her coffee. I don't know. I told myself I'd end it 100 times, but then I'd see Michael, and it would start all over again. It became this thing I couldn't control, this secret life that felt separate from my real life with you. Your real life with me was the lie, I said. This was your real life. Me and the kids, we were the secret, the thing you came home to between affairs. That's not true. Yes, it is. I stood up, the chair scraping against the floor. Every holiday, every birthday, every Sunday dinner, you and Michael were sitting there, sharing this secret, laughing at me behind my back. We never laughed at you, Lorraine said fiercely. Never. We hated ourselves for what we were doing. Not enough to stop, I shot back. Not enough to choose me. The room fell silent. Dr. Coleman looked between us, then said quietly, Mr. Holloway, what do you need right now? Not what you think you should need. What do you actually need? I looked at Lorraine, at this woman I'd spent 37 years with, this stranger wearing my wife's face. I need to know if Michael was better, I said. The question I'd been afraid to ask, the one that had been eating me alive for 2 weeks. Lorraine's face crumpled. Marcus? No. Answer the question. Was he better in bed? Better at making you laugh? Better at being a husband than I ever was? He wasn't my husband, she whispered. You were. You are. That's not an answer. She stood up, walked over to me. I backed away, but she kept coming until we were inches apart. He was different, she said. Not better. Different. With you, I was a wife, a mother, the person who managed the house and the bills and made sure everyone was okay. With Michael, I got to be someone else, someone younger, someone without so much responsibility. So I bored you, I said, and he made you feel young. It wasn't about you, she insisted. It was about me, about feeling like I was disappearing, like I'd given so much to everyone else that there was nothing left for me. And Michael, he made me feel like I still existed. At my expense, I said. Yes, at your expense. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I looked into her eyes, saw real pain there, real regret, but also something else, something that made my blood run cold. Do you still love him? I asked. She hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Oh my God, I breathed. You do. You still love him. I love you too. That's not what I asked. I was shouting now, past caring if the neighbors heard. Do you still love Michael? I don't know, she shouted back. I don't know what I feel anymore. I'm confused and guilty, and I hate myself. But yes, okay, yes, a part of me still has feelings for him. Is that what you wanted to hear? The truth hung between us like smoke. Dr. Coleman stood up slowly. I think maybe we should take a break. No, I said. We're done here. I walked past them both, up the stairs to our bedroom, started throwing clothes into a suitcase. Lorraine followed me. Marcus, please, don't leave like this. Let's talk more. There's nothing left to talk about, I said, grabbing shirts from the closet. You love him, or you still love him. Even after everything, even knowing what it's done to me, to our kids, you still have feelings for him. I have feelings for you too. I don't want to be an option, Lorraine. I spun around, suitcase in hand. I don't want to be the safe choice while Michael is the exciting one. I don't want a wife who's torn between me and my brother. I deserve better than that. You do, she said quietly. You deserve so much better than what I gave you. We stood there in the bedroom where I'd caught them, where I'd installed that camera, where my entire life had ended. I'll have my lawyer contact you, I said, about the divorce. She nodded, tears streaming. If that's what you want, it's what I need. I walked out of that house for the last time, put my suitcase in the truck, drove away without looking back. And as I turned off Avalon Road, I realized something. I wasn't just losing my wife. I was losing my whole identity. For 63 years, I'd been Marcus Holloway, son, brother, husband, father. I'd built my entire self around those roles. And now, with my brother dead to me and my marriage over, I didn't know who I was anymore. I was just a man in a truck with a suitcase full of clothes, and a heart full of questions I'd never get answered. The girl in the yellow sundress was gone. The brother I'd shared a womb with was gone. The family I'd built was shattered, and all I had left was me, just me. And I wasn't sure that was enough. 6 months later, I was sitting on a porch in Louisville, Kentucky. My cousin Denise's porch, to be exact. She'd offered me a place to stay after the divorce was finalized. Said I needed a fresh start, somewhere away from Cleveland and all its ghosts. She was right. The divorce had been quick. Lorraine didn't fight me on anything. She signed whatever papers my lawyer put in front of her. We split everything 50-50, sold the house on Avalon Road to a young couple with a baby. I wondered if they'd find the camera still up in the bedroom corner. Wondered if they'd ever know the pain that had happened in those rooms. I took my half of the money and left Ohio. Didn't tell anyone where I was going except the kids. Needed to disappear for a while. Needed to figure out who Marcus Holloway was when he wasn't somebody's husband or brother. Denise's house was small but comfortable. She was a widow herself, lost her husband to cancer 3 years back. So she understood loss, understood the need to sit in silence sometimes, to not explain yourself, to just exist without performing okay for everybody else. I got a part-time job at a hardware store downtown, nothing fancy, just helping customers find what they needed, restocking shelves, keeping busy. The owner, a man named Gerald who reminded me of my father, didn't ask questions about my past, just gave me a name tag and told me to show up on time. I spent my evenings on Denise's porch, watching the neighborhood kids play basketball in the street, listening to the sounds of a city I didn't know. Everything felt foreign, which was exactly what I needed. Foreign meant I didn't have to remember, didn't have to see Michael's face on every street corner or Lorraine's shadow in every room. I could just be. Kendra called me every Sunday. She'd graduated law school and was working at a firm in Columbus. She still didn't talk to her mother much. She tried a few times, she said, but the conversations always ended in fights. She keeps trying to explain, Kendra told me during one call. Like if she just says the right words, I'll understand. But I don't want to understand, Dad. I want her to take it back, and she can't. Darius called less often, but texted more. He'd finished college and was playing professional basketball overseas. Nothing major, some league in Greece, but he was living his dream. I think about what Uncle Michael did sometimes, he texted me once, and I get so angry I can't see straight. But then I think about you, how you didn't let it destroy you, how you just kept going. That's strength, Dad, real strength. I didn't feel strong. Most days, I felt like I was barely holding together. But I was holding. That had to count for something. Michael tried to reach out twice. The first time, about a month after I left Cleveland, he sent a letter to Denise's address. I don't know how he got it. Probably asked one of the kids. The letter was long. Pages and pages of apologies and explanations and justifications. He said he understood if I never forgave him. Said he'd carry the guilt for the rest of his life. Said he hoped one day I'd understand that love was complicated and messy, and sometimes people made terrible choices for reasons that made sense at the time. I burned the letter in Denise's fire pit, watched it curl and blacken and turn to ash. Didn't read past the first page. The second time, he called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered without thinking, and his voice came through, familiar and foreign at the same time. Marcus, please don't hang up. I should have hung up. Should have blocked the number and moved on. But something made me stay on the line. What do you want, Michael? Just to tell you I'm sorry, and that I miss you. You're my brother, my twin. I know what I did was unforgivable, but... You're right, I interrupted. It was unforgivable, so stop asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking if you're okay. The question caught me off guard. Why do you care? Because you're my brother. That didn't change. Everything changed, I said quietly. The moment you kissed my wife, everything changed. You're not my brother anymore. You're just someone I used to know. Marcus, don't call me again. I hung up, blocked the number, and sat on the porch for 2 hours staring at nothing, feeling everything. But here's the thing about pain. It doesn't stay sharp forever. Over time, it dulls, becomes something you can carry instead of something that's crushing you. I started sleeping through the night again, started eating regular meals, started noticing things, The way the sunset painted the sky orange, the sound of rain on the roof, the taste of good coffee. Small things, simple things. Things I'd taken for granted when I had a life I thought was solid. One evening in late September, about 8 months after I'd left Cleveland, I was sitting on the porch with Denise. She was knitting something, a scarf, I think, and I was drinking sweet tea and watching the neighborhood wind down for the night. "You seem better," she said without looking up from her knitting. "More like yourself." "What self?" I asked. "I don't even know who that is anymore." "The man you were before all this," she said. "Kind, steady, good." "That man was an idiot," I said. "That man let himself be played for years." "That man loved people," Denise corrected. "That's not the same as being an idiot." "Feels the same." She set down her knitting and looked at me. "Marcus, what happened to you was terrible, cruel, unfair, but it doesn't change who you are. You're still the man who raised 2 good kids, who worked his whole life to provide for his family, who opened his heart and his home because that's what love does. That's not weakness. That's courage." "Didn't feel like courage when I found out," I said. "Felt like stupidity." "Well, it wasn't. And I'll tell you something else. You get to decide what this does to you. You can let it make you bitter and closed off, or you can let it make you wiser. Softer in some ways, harder in others. But either way, you get to choose." I thought about that for a long time, about choice, about who I wanted to be on the other side of this pain. I didn't want to be bitter, didn't want to spend the rest of my life angry at Lorraine and Michael, but I also didn't want to pretend it didn't happen, didn't want to forgive just because that's what people thought I should do. "I don't know if I can forgive them," I finally said. "Then don't," Denise said simply. "Forgiveness isn't required. Peace is. And sometimes peace means accepting that some people will be in your story but not in your life anymore." A year after everything fell apart, I went back to Cleveland for Thanksgiving. Kendra insisted, said it was time for family to be together again, even if that family looked different now. Darius flew in from Greece. We met at Kendra's apartment, a small 1-bedroom in a nice part of Columbus with big windows and plants everywhere. She'd cooked a turkey that was slightly burnt on the outside and raw in the middle. We ordered pizza instead and laughed about it. It felt good, normal, like maybe we could still be a family, even with all the missing pieces. "Have you talked to Mom?" Kendra asked me while Darius was in the bathroom, not since the divorce was finalized. "She asks about you every time I talk to her." "What do you tell her?" "That you're doing okay, that you're in Louisville, that you don't hate her, but you're not ready to talk." "That about covers it," I said. Kendra picked at her pizza crust. "Do you think you'll ever forgive her?" "I don't know, baby. Maybe. Maybe not, but I've stopped being angry. That's something." "What about Uncle Michael?" I shook my head. "That's different. What Lorraine did broke my heart. What Michael did broke something deeper. Blood is supposed to mean something. He knew that and did it anyway." "He's been asking about you too," she said quietly, through Mom. "I don't want to know. Okay?" She reached over and squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you, Dad, for how you handled all this, for not falling apart, for still being here." "I'm still standing," I said. "That's all I got right now." "It's enough," she said, and I believed her. We spent the rest of Thanksgiving together, the 3 of us, told stories, looked at old pictures, the ones before everything fell apart, remembered who we used to be. And somewhere in that apartment, eating bad pizza and laughing at memories, I realized something. The family I'd built might be broken, but it wasn't gone. It just looked different now. Smaller, scarred, but still real, still mine. On the drive back to Louisville, I thought about everything I'd learned over the past year, about trust and betrayal, about love and loss, about the difference between forgiving and letting go. I thought about the man I used to be, the one who opened every door and invited everyone in. He was gone. I mourned him sometimes, but in his place was someone new. Someone who knew that trust was earned, not given freely. Someone who understood that some doors needed to stay locked. Someone who'd learned that the worst pain comes from the people closest to you. But that doesn't mean you stop loving. It just means you love more carefully. The camera that showed me the truth had destroyed my life, but it had also saved me from living in a lie. And as much as I hated what I'd seen, I was grateful to know. Because a false peace is worse than a painful truth. At least truth gives you something to build on, even if you have to start from the ground up, even if you have to rebuild yourself from nothing. At least it's real. I'm 65 now, 2 years removed from the day that camera notification changed my life. I still live in Louisville, still work at the hardware store, still sit on Denise's porch and watch the world go by. I'm not the same man I was, but I'm okay with that. The old Marcus died in that bedroom on Avalon Road. This Marcus, the one who survived, he's different, quieter, more careful, but also stronger. More honest, more real. Lorraine is still in Cleveland, still working at the hospital. We don't talk. Maybe we never will. Michael moved to Florida, I heard, trying to outrun his guilt probably. Good luck to him. Some things you can't outrun. The kids are doing well. That's what matters most. They're building their own lives, learning their own lessons, making their own choices, and they know their father loves them, that he always will, no matter what. So if you're watching this from wherever you are in the world, Detroit or Dallas, London or Lagos, anywhere, I want you to know something. Betrayal will break you, but it doesn't have to destroy you. You get to choose what you do with the pain. You can let it poison you, or you can let it teach you. I chose to let it teach me. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love, it's naivety. I learned that forgiveness is optional, but letting go isn't. I learned that family is the people who show up, not the people who share your blood. I learned that peace doesn't come from fixing what's broken. It comes from accepting that some things will stay broken, and that's okay. You can still build a life on broken pieces. It just looks different than you planned. If you like this story, if it touched something in you, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Let me know if you've got a story like mine. Let me know if you survived something you thought would kill you. And if you want to hear more stories like this, real stories, from real people who've been through hell and came out the other side, hit that We All Got a Story. And sometimes sharing it is the only way we heal. Thank you for listening to mine. See you soon. Lots of love.